Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Really, Nishmat Mordechai. Gittin Daf Tzadik, the final daf of an amazing Masechta. Thank you so much for coming out. Immediately following the shiur, there's going to be a siyum here right across the street in the hall. Before we continue, I need to say, Akar Satoiv. I'm here for almost a month, right about a month, and every single day was a struggle for many different people, for different reasons, the time difference. So first of all, thank you to Yosef, Biliak, the editor, who had to stay up late nights and be away from his family during vacation. So yishkoyach to him. Yishkoyach to my son Lazi, who set up all the equipment and everything a half hour before the shiur, and then he went to camp, and then Ephraim Ben Zeav stepped in every single day, did it beautifully, and saved us a lot of time and aggravation. So Yishkoyach and his friend, what's his friend's name? Mendel Berkson. He took over for 4 or 5 days. So Yishkoyach to him as well. Yishkoyach to Yosef Ben Zeav for getting everything going here. And Simi Mandelbaum, we loved. What are you sitting in the back over there? Oh, it's a Bracha and Fazetz. You're huge, and we appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate what you do, Yosef. And I think it's getting better and better. Every time I come, there's more and more people, even Reb Steve Jakubowski. Every day he came and gave me chizuk, Reb Zalman, of course, and the rest. So thank you very much, all those who are mechazik this year. Beis Hashem, tomorrow's daf, which is not really tomorrow, it's Tuesday in Eretz Yisrael, is going to be Daf Beis in Kiddushin. We still have an opportunity to bring some people in and to get more people to join Torah. It's a great opportunity because it's one of those masechtas that a lot of people enjoy and are familiar with, and it's a great time to call them up, call them out, and bring them to Torah. I want to say yishkoyach to David Address. He flew in this morning just for the shiur, just like Yossi Wasserman drove in just for the shiur. David is leaving immediately after the shiur, going right back to New York. David Address, I don't know if you're familiar, but all the way in the beginning, like 2-3 years ago, he composed 2 songs. Yes, 2 more. So he's the type of guy, he went out there in Brooklyn and Flatbush, put a big sticker on his car and the entire car, and was giving out gemaras. We need more people like David, so yishkoyach, he's all in. And here he is, flying in special. Actually, when all the way in the beginning of this year, this is going way back, maybe 3 years ago, it was during COVID, we're all wearing masks in Brooklyn, sukkahs in Brooklyn. It was in a sukkah in Borough Park, and he showed up in a yellow costume just to get Toilam. You remember that? Yeah. Okay, so Yishkoyach David. After the shiur, well, since the daf is a very short daf, so hopefully we can get through it fairly quickly. And I intend to do something we haven't done, and that is because we started something new called Yedias Hashas. I want to go through almost 100 Yedias Hashas very quickly. In under, we'll do the 8-minute Yedias Hashas of the entire Masechta. We'll try to do it. Hopefully, I don't stumble. I didn't do much chazara, but with your help, we'll do it together. We'll see the concepts. Some of them are very familiar. Some of them are new. It might give us a nice overview of the whole Masechta as is. So let's jump into some of these emails. A lot of them, I got a lot of emails in the last few days, and unfortunately, I can't show all of them. I do read every single one of them. Alan Bly, hi Rebelli. I'm a long-time follower from Staten Island. David Address from Staten Island. You know the guy? Sure. Since Sukkah. Baruch Hashem, haven't missed a day. I met you at Temple Bethel in Borough Park today. My 2 chaverim. Check this out, Rabbi Say. Unbelievable. His 2 chaverim. Reb Leib Bornstein and Reb Chaim Steinberg, shown here, signing up over 25 people in front of Agudas Shomer Hadas in Staten Island after Shachris. Kol Kavod. That's not, you know these guys? Yeah. 2 guys, regular, normal guys. You don't have to be a shigana. You can be a normal guy, go out there because they know what they're doing. They're doing it for Torah, to increase Torah, to help these people that they signed up and help themselves. It's a win-win situation. Unbelievable. I got to see this again. 2 Hasidic Ingelites staying there with the table. It doesn't look like they have Gemaras. It looks like they have a computer, and they're hoping that we'll send out the Gemaras. Okay? So last night we had 975 people. If they signed up 25, that's another 25. That's 1,000. We got to get to 2,000 on Boise in one day. All right. I rebellied some information below, not to be shared with the public, so I took it out. I work with Dr. James Israel in Muncie. I was surprised a few months ago when I heard your voice coming from his computer. He said he watches Rebelli share daily. He likes the Rebelli before his regular daf. Loves the visuals, pictures. He has to share details of the story of the Mamzer Bacher that married a Shivcha. The story was actually with Moshe Feinstein. I said it was around Kotler. And the Bacher married an Ethiopian woman. Finally, somebody responded. It's good to know. It is a true story. Ethiopian woman at the Ethiopian embassy in Israel. He says that he heard the story from Rabbi Tendler, was directly involved with Moshe. Have a wonderful day. Moti wine rib. And he sent me the number of Dr. James Israel in Muncie so that I could speak to him directly about it. Maybe one day I'll have time. Maintenance car at the Raleigh Hotel. Hashtag Mendy Learner. Join MDY on. These two chevra are running around. Bring back nefashos. Dear Aveli, I'm proud to tell the rabbi I recruited 5 people from Sefetz Kedushin, but they never learned with the rabbi. This is from a 15-year-old kid. Since I'm only 15 years old and don't have a smartphone, this is the famous Saul Seton, the kid that gave in his smartphone for a flip phone, and that's when he discovered the daf, and he's addicted. Since I'm only 15 years old and I don't have a smartphone, it wasn't easy at all. I don't have a status. I had to write my own message to them, text messages, like the good old days, which is more direct than a status, and it worked. I don't really know people who dropped out, so I did what I can, and I got 5 kids from YDE High School. They all got their free Gemaras, and they all can't wait to begin Masechtas Kiddushin. Oh, so it's not about the Daf, it's about the Yomi. I'll believe to push myself to help more people join from your Talmud, Saul, Seton, Shkoyach. Hi, my son Noach has been doing the Daf since Soita. Or Hashem, he's finishing Gittin on Monday, but doesn't want to make a shiur. Doesn't go into details why. He agreed that if you would encourage him to make a shiur, he'd do it. Thank you for the constant chizuk. Continue atzlacha, Eli Santeg. So Avada, you should do a shiur, and I think you, the father, should make a huge thing out of it. Huge. Invite 200 people. No, okay, fine, whatever. But bring him to a nice restaurant. What's the nicest? Reserve cut. What do they have today? Reserve cut. Bring him to the reserve cut. Bring some of the mishpacha with you. Spend some good money. Show him the chashivas atayra, how you are machshav him doing the shiur. And finally, I was able to be a rebellious share that this Israel of Avenue L when we had a telethon in the middle of 9 calls. I got 3 guys to sign back up. One was still going strong. I took a free arsenal Gemara to Lakewood to one of my 3 recruits. So now I'm copying because I didn't really read this email. I saw the picture. I put it in, but basically, he didn't know this person, is what he's saying. He didn't know, because you get a sheet and you just call. So he went to Lakewood and delivered the Gemara. And here's a picture of us meeting for the first time. It's beautiful. See, it's also mishpacha. His daughter had been asking him to start again, and my phone call sealed it. His daughter asked him to start, and his phone call sealed it. We committed to stay accountable to each other daily. That's a beautiful thing. You bring a guy back and stay in touch to be accountable. Love it. Halavai, everybody should do that. Thanks to Mordechai Sapaznik for posting the event on his status. So this is also interesting. Mordechai Sapaznik, famous Mordechai Sapaznik, he sponsored a lot of shiurim just recently, maybe 2-3 days ago. He was at the telethon. I asked him, "No, did you get anybody?" He said, "No." After the whole thing was over, I spoke to him a few times. He didn't get anybody. So here it is. He put it on his status, and he got somebody. And he got somebody to bring 3 people. So it's already Einiklach. Mordechai Sapaznik has Einiklach. So I was opposing the event on his status. That's how I found out. Victor Shine, Brooklyn, New York. Rabbi Isai, here's the list of different siyumim. You go to mdycm.com. We have one in RBS. We have one here in Chicago today. Muncie, Brooklyn, 5 towns, Wisconsin, Chicago, that we said. Miami and Toronto. And there might be others. What do we have? Now let's just go back here. The Koilel is sponsored by Namas from Lakewood. He just sent me a text message after I replied to him. Namas from Lakewood. The Schus Shalamas Esther Bas Bela. The Masechta is the last day. And we don't really have one for Kiddushin. Moshe Banda, to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank him for everything that I have. Nachamol, by Moshe Banda, to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank him for everything that I have. Paras HaChodesh, 6 of them. Leilui Nishmat Zechariah ben Moshe. Bracha b'li die in all my endeavors. Baruch Tzvi Nissim ben Shoshana Leah. By Dr. Avrum Epstein in memory of the 3rd Yahrzeit of his beloved Raiza Gitl bas Zeav. by Mordechai ben Esther for complete Refuah Shalema b'Korev Amen. Nishmat Zechariah bas Yosef, the Neshama should have an Aliyah. Leilui Nishmat Avraham Albert Levi ben Esther and Gabriel ben Yaminov. Wow. Paras Hayoim. Dr. Marc Berkson, in honor of my dad, Jerry Berkson, on the occasion of his 87th birthday, should have Arichas Yomim Yishonim. By Dani Kaladi, in memory of my father, Levi ben Moshe, on his 36th Yahrzeit, and Shoshana should have an Aliyah. By Tzali Fortgang, in memory of my father, Avrum Epstein, and the Tosha Rebbe, on the Yahrzeit today. And Leilui Nishmas, Rabbeinu Yoel ben Chanani Yomtev, Zeich Tzali Fortgang Bracha. Yoel's Yahrzeit is today? Wow. So I have a son named Yoel, but not after him. I would like to say it was, but after grandfather. Art of the month for complete refuah for Tzvi ben Leah. And by the way, the art of the month, this is the same person who's been sponsoring every single month $5,000 anonymously because nobody else is sponsoring. He would like to drop off a little bit and hope that somebody else would sponsor. Since Yoshi started, so I don't know when that is, but it's a pretty long time. Every month, so if somebody wants to jump in and take over, and I said, only people that haven't been sponsoring, no anonymous from Lakewood people, not going to accept it from them. All right, so remember, stick around after this year. We're going to try to do Yedis Hashas, see how it goes. Should be fun. Says the Mishnah. This is a Mishnah that I remember very, very clearly. My brother-in-law got engaged. My brother-in-law, Benzi Friedman, not my partner, Benzi Friedman, but my brother-in-law, Benzi Friedman, got engaged. I believe it was in KJ. I was just there yesterday, actually. It's going to be the new Reifenbach Koil. Got engaged there, and I'll never forget a speech. How could you forget a speech like this? At his Vart, he says over this Mishnah, and he's warning his Kala, says, if you burn my food, I will divorce you. And the whole place laughed. Okay, something like that. It's a Mishnah I'll never forget. Here it is. And we don't pass on Bishamai. They say you can only divorce your wife if she was mizana. Shenemar kimotza ba ervas davar. Look, it says in the pasuk kimotza ba ervas davar. Obviously, the only way, and here's the pasuk in full. You don't like your wife anymore. Kimotza ba ervas davar because of l'sefer krisos, and then you write again. Even if she burns the food, here you go, Rabbi Yisai. So Yoshi showed me how it's done. It started out with AI, but it took many, many hours. This guy was laughing. His feet were like this. She was like that. The kids, it takes many, many hours to manipulate and do. You guys see it? No? Why is it small? Is it always that small? No. I don't know. Okay, this is how he did it. I'm not going to mess around. He's already a Myron or something. So Rabbi Galinsky says a very interesting thing. Even if if the wife burns the food, it's a good enough excuse or reason to get divorced. So he says something very interesting. He says it doesn't say that she burnt the food. It says that she burnt his food. It says Rabbi Galinsky that some say it over by the name of Shoshana Padron. One of the Magidim says that what happened was the wife made food, and the bottom burnt, the top didn't. So a really good wife, she chops off the good part and gives it to her husband. She eats the burnt part. A bad wife, or maybe a mediocre wife, cuts it in half. You get a little burnt and a little good. I get a. But the really bad wife is she burnt it, she takes the burnt part and she gives it to them. For that, you get divorced. So I'm thinking to myself, you can be Moshe, you can say, listen, when it comes to Torah and Daf Yomi, also, you have to see and look at yourself and say, when I'm having a bad day, I'm having a day that I don't have that much time. What am I doing with my little time that I have? Do I love Hashem? Do I give a little bit to Hashem? and a little bit to myself, and I watch a little Netflix and a little Eli on the this. Do I give a full hour? Do I give zero? So that's how you look at yourself. When I have a bad situation, I burnt the tafshel, so I can do three things. I could give my husband the great part and take the little part from myself. I could give him the terrible part. Same thing. You have only 1 hour left. You want to go to sleep. What do? You give to Hashem. You give for Torah. You're going to be a good guy, or you're going to be this person that deserves a get. Okay. We'll say that in a second. Zog to the Mishnah. Shenemar kimotza ba, ervas is 1, davar is 2. It could be because a person sees something wrong with his wife in terms of nus. It could be davar. It could be anything. It could be the tafshel. Refuah takes it a step further. Afilu motza acheres noimeno. Even if he found someone more attractive, he still has the right to divorce. Shenemar v'hoyo em leisim sochein be'enov. Happens to be that she doesn't find favor in his eyes. This is the final Mishnah actually in Seder Nashim. If you do Mishnayos, Kiddushin comes before Gittin. Gittin is the final Mishnah. So here one's from Rabbi Milinowitz that basically the Mishnah says a little spin on it, but the Mishnah, the machlokes here is how strong does a marriage need to be? Is the marriage to the point where she's an okay wife, she's not the best. Like, look, at the end of the day, he didn't bring, but we have many times Tanaim and Amoraim that they suffer from the wives. They're terrible wives. Every time he asks her for this food, she's making the opposite. Is that a reason to divorce? Not to divorce. It's a decent relationship, not the best relationship. She does everything, whatever he wants, he does. That's not a reason to get divorced, say Bishamai. Bishamai say it's only when it's the worst of the worst of the worst. You can't do it anymore. It's also to live with her. Then you get divorced. We keep us to the point where, listen, if he's already looking somewhere else, that means something's wrong with his marriage. So if something's wrong with his marriage like that, then that's not a marriage that the Torah is talking about. Marriage that the Torah is talking about is a marriage that is perfect, and he's not looking anywhere, everything is fine, everything is good. Tanya, Amru Beis Shammai. It happens to be that, as far as I know, I'm not so into it, but I recall that in our days, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and people, unfortunately, even in this room, went through divorce. I believe that in Besdin, they don't just let you come in there. She burnt my food, I want a divorce. They'll say, give us a good reason. And many times they'll say, no, we're not going to allow you to get divorced. You have to go to counseling. You have to go to marriage counseling. Sometimes they'll say, whatever, and they say, come back. It's a process that could take many years. This is what I understand. That they're not going to let you just get a cipher and get a divorce like that. I might be wrong, but many times there's a tinus mos, there's a this time, but you have to come with some sort of solid taina in order for them to entertain the idea of divorce. So nothing more, just going to explain what's going on in the machlokes. How could you, Beis Shammai, say that it's only if she was mizana, but it says in the pasuk davar? It means anything, no? But what are you going to do with the word erva? It's talking about arayos. So basically just say, look, there's a tzrichusa. I need both words. Because if it only said the word erva, so I think, like Bishamai you're saying. Bishamai, right. Only for arayos we divorce. We don't divorce because you have other reasons. There might be good reasons, but that's not enough for divorce. Right? Because we don't know when a person can get divorced. We have no idea. I mean, we're used to it. People get divorced all the time. But what does the Torah say about it? So say Beis Hillel. So first of all, obviously, if she's mizana, you must divorce. If I don't want to forget, I'll just throw it in as ADD. Chofetz Chaim says if a person witnessed a woman who's mizana, so you have to tell the husband because he has to divorce her. Well, what about if the husband doesn't believe you and he wants more information? He wants to know who the guy is. I thought it's a pella. It's an isser to say lashon hara about this nayef. He did a terrible thing. One of the three averes chamuros. So you could say at the time, look, right now he's not behaving like a proper yid. Why not tell the husband who the guy is, the bad guy? Nope, you don't know. Maybe the tshuva, whatever. You can't say lashon hara. But if the husband says straight out, if you don't tell me who it is, I don't trust you. I only begin to believe you when you give me information. Give me some names. As soon as you give him the names, oh yeah, that guy. I was choshit. Okay, fine. Then I'll get divorced. Says the Chofetz Chaim, in that case, you're allowed to say the name. Otherwise, don't say. I'll go upon him. Torah says erva. So I need the Torah to say davar, to say it's not only the arayis that you could do again, but anything. Burning the food is also, in other words, other reasons. Davar, and if it's just a davar, okay. So then the obvious question is, why doesn't it just say davar? I'll tell me in all situations, any reason, even if she burns the food, and she doesn't treat you so well, you can divorce her. Nothing to do with her rights. Just say that. Why do I need the word ever? Wait a minute. Yes, you divorce for all reasons, but if you divorce her for znos, maybe she shouldn't get married to somebody else. She should never be allowed to get married. As a matter of fact, you're going to see soon in the Gemara that she's not a good woman. She's a Zayna, sort of, like, why should somebody else marry her? Avraham, the Gemara calls the guy that marries her a fool, sort of. Not that Lashon, but he's worse than the first guy. So now, Bishamai say no, only for our rights. So then why does the Torah say the word davar? Says the Gemara, we had it yesterday. It's Gzeir Shava. When you have two similar words in two different parshias, you learn one thing from the other. Nemar kan davar, v'nemar la'alon davar. The word davar is repeated by edim. Al pi shnei edim, or al pi shloisha edim yokum davar. Malam shnei edim, afkam shnei edim. What do we call that? It's in the Yedias Hashas. Ein davar shebe'erva pachas mishnai. When it comes to arayas, you need at least two edim. How do I know it? Al pi shnei edim yokum davar. It's not just by maminus. Davar, we learn from that you need two edim by arayas. Does it say that the arayis is al pi shnei edim? It doesn't say erva bid davar. It says davar, not bid davar. They're not connected. Erva, she was over in arayis. Davar, she burnt the food. It's two separate things. You're learning it erva bid davar, that she's mizana and two witnesses testified to it. That's not what it says in the pasuk. It doesn't say oy. You're learning is two separate words literally. No, it says ervas davar. The two words go together. Fine. So it could go both ways. For arayas, for other reasons, and that's why people today get divorced. Unfortunately, here I don't know the real numbers, and maybe people make it up, but supposedly in our days, divorce is way higher than it used to be. That's what they say. Rav Kiva goes to the extreme. He says, listen, she could be a perfect wife and everything, but you found somebody else. Where's the machlokes? B'dir Rish Lakish. The Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says, Ki mishamish ba'arba l'shoynois. Check this out. So I sent the Yoshi what I did back in a different Masechta, and he revised it beautifully. I told him, even if he doesn't do art at all, just takes the simple charts that I made and make him like this. This is very clear. I should have shown just straight lines. If, perhaps, but, and because. The word ki could go in four different ways. And Rashi over here brings these psukim, ki sarma bilvavcha means perhaps. Ki yikra kan tzipa, Rashi says this is if. This is the most common in the Torah. Ki yikra, if you find a bird, Ki soimer belevavcha, but you'll say in your heart, and we're talking about the one in green because. Hoidul Hashem ki toiv. I'm thinking Hashem because it's good. So ki mishamish ba'arba l'shonos. The word ki could mean 4 different things. E, if, Dilma, perhaps, Ella, but, the ha, because. So what's machlokes? B'shamis avri hoyam loy simtza chemena ki matza ba'erves davar because ki. What is the word ki matza ba'erves davar? Because the reason why you're divorcing her is because, right? The one on the bottom right. Why are you divorcing her? Not kitov, kira. I'm divorcing ki matza ba'erves davar. You found something wrong with her. In znos. Sovar, ki is a lashon of im. If. You see the top left one. If. Ki matza ba'erves davar. That what? Inami matza ba'erves davar. It could be you found Eres davar, and it could be something else. If you find Eres davar, if you found that she burnt your food, whatever it is. It's not because, it's if. What if a person wakes up on the wrong side and he decides to divorce his wife? There's no reason. So what's the shiloh? Do you have to return? You divorced her for no reason. You went to Daf Yomi and you said, oops, I made a mistake. I didn't know that you need a good reason. I divorced the stam. I was in the mood of being married now. What do? Says the Gemara, big Yisoid, it says in the pasuk that the rapist, the one that violated the woman, he has to pay 50 kesef, and if she agrees, he must marry her. So it's a punishment for him. To marry Now the pasuk could have just said Lo yuchal shalcha. You can never divorce her. So what's this kol yamav? Kol yamav. Meaning, we learn from here that if he does divorce her, he must return her. Kol yamav. It's forever. Halavira boys say next time I come to Chicago, we're gonna have to find a bigger venue. There shouldn't be enough seats. There's already somebody standing in the back in Valdik. Getting a seat. His entire life, he has to return her if he divorced her. And says the Gemara, we can infer from this, there's only one time in the Torah that a person must return his wife after he divorces her. That is the woman that was violated, this Naira. Interesting, I saw once a tshuva, in the Pischei Tshuva, he brings that a woman once told her husband, said, look, we don't have children for 10 years already. I heard there's a big zgula. People love zgulas. Wear a red band, they go to this thing, do this. And I always tell people, forget the zgulas. Learn a daf Gemara. There's no better zgula. Nobody can argue that. There's no better zgula than learning daf Gemara. You want a child? Learn Gemara. You wanted this? Learn Gemara. Or you could just buy for 10 shekel a red band and think that it helps. Fine. So she tells him, I heard there's a zgula to get remarried. You get divorced and you get remarried. That's a zgula. So he said, okay, shmak. So he got divorced and he's about to get remarried. And she said, adios. It was just a way for me to get you to divorce me, and I think we should call it quits. So they went to the Rabbanim, and they said, I don't remember the end of the tshuva, but everybody agrees that he only divorced her so he could remarry her, and Memela, it's not a divorce. I think that was more of the svara. I can't take any guarantees. But if you, I don't know. Oh, did they have kids afterwards? No.
It's the same story with the Chassid Sharab said, I don't think it's
Right. The Kedushin isn't good, Shalom Yisrael. Right. So he got that trick from Pischei Tshuva. Correct. So sometimes, every time, not sometimes, you get divorced, it's over. Only one time. By the oinus, he must return her. And of course, if there's a tnai and it's understood and it's the nemuchach and everything else, fine. Tanya Omer Omer Kashem Shadez b'machol kach dez b'noshim. Ooh, shmak. Okay, I skipped. Thank you. Omalei Rav Mishar Shilurova. Im libo legarsha v'yesheves tachtov mishamshato imau. Shamashtoi umishamashtoi imau. So, interesting question. I'm sure this is something I actually heard mamish recently that a couple was going to get divorced. Well, I guess the wife decided she wants to get divorced. She schmoozed it over with her husband, with her parents. So, I'm done with this guy, which I do. So they said the first thing you should do is don't do anything because you don't understand all this real estate that we bought and we put on his name. We got to get it back real quick. So she said, okay, a ma'aseh shahaya, and they went. And they sold off all the real estate. They liquidated everything. And they said, okay, now you can do whatever you want. And she said, oh, by the way, I want to get divorced. Fine. Same idea. The guy has in his mind, he has to get rid of his wife. Okay? But, this, that, a lot of people, they want to get divorced. And they say, let's just wait until the last kid gets married and then we'll, whatever. You hear it all the time. What's the halacha? Could you stay married? I mean, you have in mind to get divorced. His mind, his heart tells him he wants a divorce and he's going to do it. So in my case, I just said, let's just marry off the last kid. That was a mutual decision. Over here, it's in his mind. He never told his wife. Basically, he's what's the lashon? He's using her. I mean, she's making him food, the whole thing, and he has no intent to be with her. Don't be quiet about the wrongdoing that you want to do for your friend. He's trusting you, he's sitting with you, and you have all these conniving plans against him. It's against the pasuk. It's not the right thing to do. Just like people, as the Gemara is going to describe in a second, have different ideas when it comes to food. Yeah, there's a person I know that my son was telling me about him, that in a certain place, yeshiva, whatever, after lunch, when the boys, were done with lunch, he went into the garbage can and took out all the half-eaten pizzas. And no, Bemis. It's a thing. He wasn't hungry, but he felt that it was, Baltashvas. This is an Eretz Yisrael. It's common. Not so common. But there are people have different ideas. Some people grew up with Holocaust survivors or whatever. You have to finish the whole plate. If you don't, you can't go to sleep. And they put it back in the fridge. They pull it out the next day. Different people have different things, right? So, Adam shezvuv noifel kaisai v'zarkai ve'enoi sheiseyu. Let me see what this is a surprise from Yoshi because it wasn't ready before shiur. Let me see what he did here. You have a cup of wine. Okay. Now you have to understand that in those days, we're not familiar with this. By us, 90% of the people, 99% of the people take the whole cup and spill it in the sink and Shalom Yisrael. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. To me, there's so much wine and there's so much shefa, and what does it cost? You sit there and patchka with the fly. It depends how much you ate flies and etc. In those days, it was a commodity. It was expensive to come by, and they didn't always have it. We talk about the Chofetz Chaim says that don't learn from me. He used a tiny cup for kiddush. They didn't have wine. It was too expensive in Europe. So he has a kiddush cup like this, and a fly falls in there. He's gonna throw out the cup of wine with some sugar. Takes the fly with the least amount of wine possible and chuck it. If I'm not mistaken, this if somebody could send me the makar, I believe it was the Sfas Emes. I remember it was a gewaldik achat that he had. On Shabbos, you have a problem of boyer. If a fly falls into the wine, and you take the spoon, and it happens to us also, let's say you're in the soup, whatever, and you go like this, you don't like the bone in the soup. So it's boyer to take out But boyer is mutter if you take the oicham take up silas. If you take the food away. So what the Sfasemis did, he had a fly that flew in. He put a spoon like this, and then he pulled the cup downwards. The spoon remained where it was with the fly, and he pulled the food away from the fly. So it's oichal. He took the food away from the psilas. Huh? Right. So that's a shiur. The Chazanish talks about it. He's saying because he took the mixture with the good and with the bad. Would you really drink that soup that's right next to the fly part? That's okay. It's a shiur. I hear what you're saying.
People do it all the time.
What with your elbow?
You're showing your left hand.
Oh, I did it with my left.
People do it all the time with honey. The bee parts fall and
I hear. Okay. Now you know the trick. I hope it's a good trick. I hope I'm not making this up. That I believe it's a Sfasemis. Could be somebody else. Pull downwards. Okay. Vizu says Gemara. So if you have a fly that falls into your cup, vizarkai. Thank you, Yoshi, for coming up. He ran to Mincha and he did this mamash within 20 minutes. Vizarkai ve'inish say. You throw out the entire cup. There's a terrible midah, says the Gemara. Okay, again, I'm being makdim that in our generation is probably not the worst thing in the world. V'zui midas papus ben Yehuda shoyanoyel b'fnei ishtei v'yaytza. Does anybody remember who Papus ben Yehuda is? Who?
He was in jail with the Refuah.
Very good. What does the article bring it down? Very good. That's the famous Ashrecha Rebbe Akiva shenetfasta devir Torah, that you at least were caught for Torah and I was caught for Shtusa. So Papus ben Yehuda, and this is something that we can learn for ourselves, that Papus ben Yehuda is very, very strict with his wife. We call it controlling. It's a certain personality. If people check their wife's phones and this and make sure who she's talking to, who not. So it's a terrible thing because it creates big problems. What happened with Papus ben Yehuda, he was married to Miriam. What's her name? Miriam Megadla Neshaya. Hey, it's Miriam Megadla Neshaya. She had enough of her husband doing this to her. He used to lock her. He used to leave to the marketplace and lock the door behind. So what happened? She rebelled. And she was Mizana. And she had a kid, which was a mamzer. And that kid was a Meses and Mediach. And he ended up dying. They killed him. Klal Yisrael killed him. That's what happens when you're too overly controlling. It's not a good midah. Says the Gemara, "V'zui midas papos ben Yehuda shenoyel b'fnei ishto v'yoytzei." He would lock the door and leave. And at the end, of course, with all his locking, she was able to circumvent that. And there's another midah. V'zarka, he throws the fly out, v'shiseyu, and he drinks it. V'zui midas kol adam, and this is normal. Shemidaberes machel v'kriveha umanicha. He allows her to speak to her brothers and to her relatives. V'yesh adam shezvuv noivadech tamchoy. Yeah, no, there's people. Unfortunately, you hear the story. A guy gets married, and he makes his wife cut all connection with the family. You've never heard these mices? It happens. A certain controlling kind of person. Oh, your father's going to say this. You can't talk to your father anymore. You can't talk to that. That's a terrible midah. But a person that says, okay, talk to your parents, talk to your brothers. There's a person who the fly falls into his food. He sucks it up and eats it. And Roshah says maybe it was disintegrated, but it's a terrible thing. The person is terrible. He sees his wife uncovered here, and she is neat. The funniest thing happened yesterday. I asked Yoshi, I said, you did this picture with these women doing something on a table to the moonlight. I said, but the Gemara said they were knitting in the moonlight. He said, you said knitting? I thought you said kneading. They're sitting there kneading the bread. Go look at the picture from yesterday. You see, this morning you just told me. Okay, at least you found it funny. He was very embarrassed. He's like, I don't think I ever made a mistake like that. I threw it out. I thought he saw the sugya. Like, make a picture of women kneading to the kneading. Okay, I guess they said it kneading. Yeah, what? The Taiva Bashok. He's like, but for the book, should I change it? It's like, whatever. Who has time for that? The Taiva Bashok. This Doilan is not going to like so much. That her elbows are showing, and that's who did why? Who did somebody? Okay, this is bad. She bathes with men. Says Gemara, what? Says Rashi, she walks in like to the mikvah as the men are coming out of the dressing room where they get dressed. She walks in over there into the makkah. Zu, listen to this. Zu mitzvah min ha-Torah legarsha. You get a positive commandment. It's a mitzvah d'oraisa to divorce a woman like that, a prutza like that. Shneimar ki motza boyer v'azdavar v'shilcha mebeisa. It's a mitzvah to be megarish. B'hol chavois ilish acher, says the Gemara, and then she went. She married another man. Hakasav kroy acher. The Torah calls him the other. Loimar she'ein ze ben zugoy l'rishoin. He's worse than the first guy. Zeh oitzi rishon mebeisa. This guy did the right thing. He got rid of this crazy woman. Or I shouldn't say crazy, a wicked. Okay, I don't want to call her wicked, but yeah, she did a rishus. She was over in the Raiza. And what did this guy do? He goes and he grabs her. He takes the rishus. Zocha sheni shilcha. If the second guy is zocha, he'll also end up divorcing her. The second guy will hate her also. Vimlav, and if he's not zocha, koivarto, she'll cause him to die. That's what happened. He deserves to die. Why? Because he took the rishus out of this guy's house, which he got rid of, and he took her into his own house. So let's stop right over here, and we'll give an opportunity for everybody to finish it on their own, and we'll be finishing it in the hall. But let me just do. That's a nice surprise. Ishkaya, thank you for coming. But you know what? We're gonna be doing the Yedias Hashas. So let's see how long it takes here. We actually had this, and you can see on the top it says the daf that we had it, even though the big sugi we were discussing it all the way at the end. Reach get is the scent of a get. In other words, even if okay, let me do it from here. Reach get. It smells like a get. In other words, a kohen who writes a get to his wife or somebody, his wife is not allowed to marry a kohen, even though she was never divorced, because there's a scent of a get. Breira is the concept of retroactive clarification. Get Yashan is a get that was written and not given to the wife, and he had yichud with her. He secluded himself. You cannot use such a get. Daitiki, dote lemekam. This is when you write down what the Shchimra said, Balpeh, you write it down because person who's on his deathbed, his words have a lot of power. Hempek is when the Bezdin, these are things, you remember we learned about Hempek, but it's Gishmak, we're going through the whole Masechta quickly. Hempek is a document that the Bezdin write, and this is what the Bezdin say, this is what happened, the Moitzi Hempek. Chazaka Kamaisa, we discussed about the first Chazaka, the Chazaka Mikara, a first Chazaka, if a woman has a certain status and then she moves into another status, we go with the first status. Shliach is a Shliach that if you appoint a Shliach, an agent, that agent has the right to make another Shliach instead of him. Ein oinus begittin, that if a person has his oinus, he said, I couldn't make it over I missed the boat. Literally, the case was I missed the boat. That's not a reason to be mevatel the get. Makire kuhuna is the concept of somebody who always gives his truma and meiser to a certain kohen. That kohen, it's as if he got it, even though he didn't get it, but he gets it every month, every week. He's the makire. You know him. He's the kohen to go to. Also, shein zoiche is the concept of, let's say you have a katan who doesn't have the ability to acquire nechasim, but Chacham said he does for Tikkun Olam. If let's say he found something, so there shouldn't be any fighting between the father. We say, okay, we'll give him the schus to be zoicha, even though he shouldn't. Yush, the famous violet chasar kiss, if a person loses something or was stolen from him, he gives up on it. Tevel is when you have fruit and you didn't take trumas and maisrus, it's also to eat midoraisa. The fruit is called tevel until you take the trumas and maisrus. Shluchah shalom kamoisai. when you make an agent, that person fits into your shoes. He does everything instead of you. It's as if you're doing it. Dvarim shebelev and dvarim. You could say whatever you want. I thought about it. It's in my heart. It doesn't count unless you say it specifically. When a person admits to something, it's as if there's testimony to the fact. 100 edim is like 2 edim. There's no difference, but it's just a strong lashon. You tell your agent, take this to so and so. It's as if you told him that he could actually acquire it for so and so, and that fits right into Zachan Adam Shalei B'fanav. That you could, if you find an object, you could acquire it with intent that it should go to somebody else. If it's a zchia, when we said a get is never a schos, even for a woman who wants to get divorced, it's not a schos. Also, dibur and vatal dibur, the idea that one sentence erases the sentence before, stuff they dibur, etc. Ein davar shebever paxim shnayim. We just discussed it that in order to testify in erva, you need at least 2 edim. Yesterday we discussed. Sometimes, if the husband went away on a faraway trip, for aguna, we were makel that 1 eid is enough, but it's a special case. Eid shabatal miksasa batlakula, testimony that part of it is batal, all of it is batal. We said it about shlichus also. Hefker, bezin hefker, that the bezin has the right to take your belongings and make them hefker. It happens with kiddushin, they can take your money the ring that you gave your wife 30 years ago, they could go back 30 years before, retroactively, and take it and be mafkeret, and therefore you're never makadosh your wife, let's say. Gilid das beget. If we had a story where somebody sent a get with a shliach, and he came to the woman and she was knitting. I did say kneading. You see that? It's my fault. And come back tomorrow, and when he came back, the guy said, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, you didn't give the get." Galadas that he didn't want to give the get, and then the guy went anyways and gave it. There's certain thing, Giludas, we understand what you want. Moira had the la'atzma. Unfortunately, that's a common thing with us, that we have excuses why we do certain bad behaviors. Moira heter. Ain bezin about the chaver the idea that one bezin in the next generation cannot undo what a bezin, previous bezin, unless they're greater than those people. Milsa the shchichaver about takanta, chacham only do the geyser gzeira, and they make a takana on something that's very common, not on something that's not shchiach. Shibuda the Rebnasan, the famous Shon picture that we didn't show this Masechta. That's if Reuven owes money to Shimon and Shimon owes money to Levi. Levi could go directly to Reuven and take the money. Shtar oimed ligvois kegavoy. You have a star that's ready to collect. Let's say a woman has a ksuba and she's ready to collect. It's as if she collected it. Do you say or not? It's as if she already has possession of that ksuba. The Gemara says the Bachoy, which is the Malva, Koina Mashkin, he acquires the collateral, the Mashkin. Rav, the famous Tano Polig, Rav is a Tana, he has a halacha of a Tana, because he's the last Tana, the first Amira, so he's able to argue on other Tanaim. The famous Lola Misha, which we had yesterday, that you learn a woman from Eved, which we'll see Mamish Mefurish later on. And Ishbar Malak Arkais, the idea that you don't swear on real estate ever, and Amachubel Karka, something that's attached to the ground, like the ground, whether it's the truma or the get or different things that are attached, they have a halacha of karka. There's the shvua of Moedim Miktas. If a person admits to a partial claim, he has to swear that he doesn't know the rest. We just said that there's a hekesh between Eved and karka. Oh, sorry, that's different. Go back. This is Eved and karka before is Isha and karka. Okay. Kinya Peris Kinya Naguf, when the husband has the ability to use the Peris, like when his wife comes in with Nissim Belug, he gets the profits. Does he own? Is it as if he owns the actual karka for different halachas, for bikurim, whatever it is? Mitzvah Aseish as Mangrama, the famous halacha that women are not chayiv in anything that has to do with that's a time. What's the lashon? Time sensitive. Thank you, or whatever. Mitzvah l'kayim divrei meis. There's always a mitzvah when a meis says to do something. There's a mitzvah to do it. Palgin and Dibura, do we split words? He said a sentence, do we take half, throw it out, and ignore the other, do one half, not the other? Like fruit, or like children that are not born yet. Are you makne davashalei b'la'olam? Moide b'knas potter, if a person admits to a penalty, he is potter. Oinoi, what is the word? Oinoi is a shtar. Nichseit sein barzel, that's another way of a woman coming into a marriage, let's say with the nursing home. And she says, the nursing home today is worth $1 million, so it's locked in like a metal sheet. So he has to pay that exact price, regardless if it went down in value or up in value. He has to give her that exact price as when they went into the marriage. Kiyan agav is if you purchase real estate and there's metaltalin on the real estate, you acquire the metaltalin agav the real estate because of the real estate. Sveka is a double suffix, a suffix on a suffix. We actually just had a little bit of a yesterday, which I didn't mention. Miruach is you're only chayv in truma meiser when you do the final shaping or smoothing out. Thank you. The smoothing out of the grain. Only then are you chayv. If you eat before that, you're okay. There's two types of fields or real estate. They making this when you purchase a field from somebody, you have to return it by the yovel. So the achuz is a field that came to you, you inherited, it's part of your family. That is that the firstborn gets 2 portions, but not in something that when the father died wasn't in his possession. In other words, if somebody owes money or something that comes in after the death of the father, then he doesn't get 2 portions in that. He'll just share with the regular amount. You have to prove something if you want to take it out. Tam and muad is if you have an ox. The difference between an ox that gored 3 times is a muad, less than 3 times is a tam, you pay only half. Or if Kabbalah is a very strong guarantor, he says, come to me first, don't even go directly to me, don't go to the loiva. Shibuda the Raiza, anytime you have a chiyuv to give something, it's the Raiza. Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, Mishnase Kavanaki, we always passing like Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov. Hezek she'enoi nikar shmei hezek, if somebody puts tumah on somebody else's fruit and you can't see it with a MRI, you can't see the damage, it's still considered damage, even though it's not nikar. Kamalevi the Rabbi is if somebody murders somebody, in doing so, he tore his shirt. Since he's getting the death penalty, he doesn't have to pay the lesser. You only get one of the 2 einshim, the greater of the 2. Pigol is if somebody has a machshava, the kohen has a thought during these 4 things: shchita, kabbalah, ilach, and zrika, and he has a thought that he's going to be mefagel, he's going to eat it outside of the allotted time, that it's mutter, he ruins the carbon. It's called pigol. Grama b'nizaken potter. If you cause a hezek to somebody else, you are potter. Konsu got to mezid. We had a whole sugya. Do we give a knas when a person was a shaygi because of the mezid situation? The tzitz, that's the crown sort of that the kohen gadol wears. It forgives for tumah in blood. Anytime the blood of a carbon comes tamei, this is the kapara. We get it from the tzitz. Metakemana or makebe patish is when you fix something on Shabbos, you fix it, you do the final touch on it. That's the Issa Deraisa of makebe patish. Yush and Shinu Rishus, we spoke about Yush before, violated the Chasar and Kiss, but he's also a changed ownership that could take it out of somebody's possession. Chulin Shinishchut Bazar, you take a regular animal that's not a carbon and you shecht it in the Azar, it's the Raisa, Sheval Taisa. If you just sit and don't do something is better than doing an Averis. You have 2 Averis, one is just sitting still, don't shake the lulav, let's say, or do an Averis. It's better to do the Sheval Taisa. Kefil, we spoke about that if, no, we didn't speak about, but if you steal something, you owe double the amount, and then you have Arbava Chamisha, that's 4 or 5 times the amount, depending if you shechted the animal that you stole, or you sold it, then you have to pay 4 or 5 times, depending if it's a sheep or an ox. To Lu Vizav and Zvina, if somebody they force you to sell something, it's a good sale. How do you make a chazak on real estate? Besides the 3 years, you know I'll go the parats. You make a fence. You open the fence. You put a lock up. We just mentioned a few times in passing that the way a vessel takes in a blia, a treifa, that's how you get it out. So if it's a certain heat, that's how you take it out. So we discussed also it has to do with Gittin. Hilchas like Shmuel, but Dina, halachas like Shmuel when it comes to Dine and like Rav, what? Be'isr. Thank you. Mukhshal Kabal Tumah is the idea that fruit don't become tamei unless you were happy with the water or the sheva mashkim that touched the fruit, and then it becomes mukhshal. It's susceptible to tumah. We spoke about a shliach loilacha. There's a shliach that you tell the guy to bring the get, and shliach kabbalah to receive the get. One is the husband, one is the wife. He does badin kimei edim dami. We said already. Migo, you should believe me for saying A because I could have said a much worse thing B. Mavoi is in those days they had the yards dumping into an alleyway. That's called a mavoi. And in order to carry there on Shabbos, you have to do a shitufei mevais. You have to do an eruv. Called the takon rabbanon came the Raiza takon. When they made a takana, it always resembles the similar halacha in the Raiza. Mion is when a young girl, is married off by her brother or mother, and it's only a kedushin de rabbanon. She has the ability to get out of it just by saying, "I don't want to be married." We're almost done, Rabbi Isai. Erev Tchumen is you can't go more than 2,000 amma on Shabbos. So if you place a meal, let's say 2,000 amma from your house, you have another 2,000 ammas from that meal in that direction only, but you can't go even 1 inch in the opposite direction of your house. Mili mimsum l'shliach. We had all sugi. Could, when the husband says, "Do this and this," could you take those words and give it over to another shliach? If he said, "I want you to do it," it's different. That a testimony has to be verbal, not in writing. And get lachar misa. A get never happens after death, but you could go retroactive after death. You go retroactive. That happened before. Rabbi Yossi Nimuke Imai. Rabbi Yossi is solid. He knows what he's talking about. He goes through everything, and we pass him like him. If you have, I think we spoke about it, that if there's a oinas that's not shchiach, then it is mevatel a get. If you tell somebody, you tell the wife, this is your get on condition you return the paper. So when is she divorced? Immediately. Now, she just has to be mekayim or tonight. The halach is like Rishum Gamliel everywhere in Shas, besides in the Mishnah, besides Arev, Tzidon, and Raya Achroina, Rabba and Rav Yosef. The halach is like Rabba, besides Sada Inyan and Mechza. Gita B'Yad B'Am Ke'achol is an amazing concept. If you don't understand it, just accept it. That if a woman, her let's say her house in possession of her husband, he gives her the get in the house and they become hers simultaneously. She acquires the house and the get in the same second. In the Torah, you can't, what's the word? You can't say that it happens at the same time. Nothing happens simultaneously. It's a fraction of a millionth of a second. It happened before, but nothing ever happened at the same time. Lavod is the halacha that within 3 tfachim, it's connected. Akira on Shabbos, in order to be over on Hitzah, you have to lift up the object in one rishos and do hanacha in another rishos. We had so if a person throws an object, a football, from Rosh Hashanah and it travels through Rosh Hashanah and lands in Rosh Hashanah, do we say that it landed in Rosh Hashanah halachically for a millisecond? Shemeres Yavim is a woman who's married to a man. They don't have children. The man dies. So she's supposed to marry her brother-in-law, and until she gets married to him or she does chalitza, she's considered a shemeres yavim. She's waiting in the wings. Yet mekusher is the get in order to dissuade Kayana from getting divorced out of anger because she burnt his food and he wants to divorce her right now. They made her go through the whole process of tying it and folding it and tying it. It takes more time. You need more edim. And what if that fan is missing one of the Eidim? It's possible to get kireach. We had last night that a woman who says to her husband in his face, "You divorced me." When it comes to Gerushin, we believe her. And Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. Mazel tov.